Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. As anybody knows who watches my channel, they know that I'm a huge fan of Linux Mint. That is my preferred distro, and that is the main one that I use. Now, the one that I have been using for the longest time has been Linux Mint 17.3 Rosa Cinnamon Edition. And the latest version is actually Linux Mint 18.1 Serena. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you at least the differences that I found. I know there's probably some that I might miss, but these are just my general opinions of the differences between the two and whether or not it's worth it for you to upgrade to 18.1 if you are already on Linux Mint 17.3. Now, if you go back to Linux Mint's main website, if you go here, obviously the version that they have right now is 18.1. So if you're going to be downloading it, you're going to be able to get the newest version. However, if you wanted to download previous versions, all you would do is go to the downloads page right here, and you would choose all versions. Okay, so you could go back pretty far. I think in this case, Maya and Betsy, wow, that's a while back. You probably don't want to download that. But really, the only older versions I'm concerned about is 17.3. Okay, if you wanted an older version. And older, it's not really that old because 17.3 was actually released on December 2015. So that's a little over a year ago. And, you could look at the new features that it had at the time. And then for Linux Mint 18.1, this was released 2016 as well, December 16, 2016. So this is pretty much a year after 17.3 was released, and 18.1 is actually a long-term support, and so is 17.3. So that means these are going to be supported for quite a while, which is also nice. Now, in terms of what new features are in 18.1, if you are a person who uses Linux Mint or have never used it before, the main reason why people really like Linux Mint and the main reason why I like it is the fact that it's extremely stable. Okay, so they don't make too many changes. And if you look at the different versions of Linux Mint from 17 to 18 and even the ones before that, there's really not a lot of changes. Okay, cosmetically, there's really not much difference. The changes are underneath, but the changes are very subtle, I would say. Okay, like things such as a screensaver or the way Windows, the different Windows works, or even like some of the effects that they have are a little bit different. Okay, so there's not a lot of brand new changes on here, but I'm gonna go show you the things that I've noticed that are different. So this might be a pretty short video because, to be honest with you, there's really not that many differences between 17.3 and 18.1. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this, and I have both of them side by side so you could see the difference. Okay, so the very first thing that you'll see is the actual in the menu. There really is not many changes here, but the changes that are going to be apparent is first when you go to graphics. Okay, if you go to graphics here, G-Thumb is no longer there, or image viewer. Basically, Linux Mint has created their own version, Pix, so it's a fork of whatever they had before. I'm pretty sure it's a fork of G-Thumb, so it's a different version. Okay, and then another thing that has changed is the fact that their text editor, that is their own version as well. Even though they say text editor on both of them, I'm pretty sure this is also another fork of the text editor that they were using before. Okay, but other than that, it's pretty much the same exact menu. Okay, which I think, the menu works great for me. It's very intuitive, it's easy to get around, so it makes it a lot less of a learning curve is what I would say. Okay, now another thing that you have is something that is, I would say, cosmetic. So if you right clicked on your mouse and then you change desktop background, this is one of the things that I really love about Linux Mint 17.3 is that you could choose wallpaper from older versions of Linux Mint, which I really appreciate, and I enjoy that. Okay, now if you go to Linux Mint 18.1, and this started with 18 as a matter of fact, if you change the desktop background, you really only have options to go back to Sarah and Serena. I mean, Serena is the most current version, but as you can see, there's not by default an option to go back to older versions of Linux Mint. I'm not sure why they did that, because I don't think that takes up any space. Okay, it would have been a really simple thing for them to just keep, so I don't know why they did that. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, another thing is that you have additional places where you could move your panel. Okay, so if you right-clicked on your mouse and then you modify panel, you could move your panel. Now, in Linux Mint 17.3, you can only move it up here, okay, or you could move it down here, okay. Now, Linux Mint 18.1, you have the option to actually move it in all four corners. So if you see here, see, up, down, left, right. So I could put it here if I want, or I could actually move it back to the left here. And most people will probably prefer this if they were going to move it on either side of the screen. So, you know, that's cosmetic, but at the same time, it does improve user experience for some people who do like their panels on the left side of the screen. You know, so if you're using Ubuntu, this is something that you're probably familiar with, you know, for their Unity interface. Okay, so another thing that I've noticed is the fact that the video player, okay, and this is kind of weird because I'm not really sure how the video player works. So let me move this back to the bottom before it gets a little confusing. Move that down here. And this is something I experienced ever since 18. And like I said, I haven't done a lot of research to find out why this is the case. So if you go to a video, like right here, so I'm going to try this in 17.3, okay? So once again, this is a fresh install of 17.3, okay? So it's probably definitely not the same exact version that I have on my laptop, which I'm still running 17.3. So if you open it right here, it's going to try to use the default app, okay? And here, I've gotten this error. I've never gotten this error before, but you know, you could probably doesn't matter at this point. But and then you could always use a different video player like VOC. Okay, so if you go to 18.1, a different message comes up. Okay, it's not an error message, but you'll see what I mean. So let's try to open this. And now it's gonna search for some missing codecs. Okay, so whenever I installed this, I went ahead and installed all third-party codecs because some things require these proprietary codecs, but that still didn't fix this problem. So I'm gonna install it, but it's probably not gonna work still. So let's go ahead and install these codecs, and it's gonna install everything that you would need to actually get this to work. Okay, so I'm downloading that. Now for this other one, I don't know why that had that error. I've actually tried reinstalling 17.3, and this is fresh from Linux Mint's website, so I'm not sure why that's the case. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time researching it. But what I'm going to show you is that instead of using the default video player, I'm going to recommend that you use VLC. Okay, so which is, in my opinion, the better video player anyway. And on top of it, it is, you know, cross-platform. It works on all platforms. And so let's wait until this downloads. But if you did want to change your default video player application, all you'd have to do is right click and then open with, and then other application, choose VOC and set it as the default. Okay, so just say okay, and see, now it'll open it just fine. Everything will work, and your audio will work as well. Okay, so I just want to show you this here. Okay, let's try to open this once this is all downloaded. Okay, so that should have all been downloaded and installed. Let's go ahead and try to open it again with the default video player. See, so that's the funny thing. It still asked me to install this when I just installed it. Now I could also try checking all of this. Okay, and let's close it. Let's try again. Okay, see, it still does the same thing. So I'm not sure why that's occurring. I really didn't do any research on this because I really feel like for the better video player is just VOC. So I would do the same thing. Choose another application and then set as default. Okay. So this would primarily affect people who are brand new to Linux Mint and they're wondering why their video files aren't playing. So that's pretty much the solution there. And then another difference is under the hood. So if you went here, and obviously this is an older version, so this kind of makes sense. So if you went down to your system info, your kernel version is 3.19. Then if you go here, the kernel version should definitely be higher. So it's 4.4. So you're getting the most recent kernel, at least for Linux Mint. And then because of that, you know, it's going to have a lot more drivers and support for various hardware. Okay, so above those differences that I just showed you, there really isn't any other differences. Okay, and with all of that being said, if you are already running Linux Mint 17.3, I really don't feel like there's a reason for you to upgrade to 18.1. Okay, that's just my opinion, and that this is for somebody who's using it on a daily basis. Okay, so if you're experiencing problems or something where it necessitates you to upgrade to 17.3, then I say go ahead. But I just really don't think that there's enough features to warrant you upgrading to 18.1 if you are not on 18.1. So that's pretty much basically my comparison between 17.3 versus 18.1, and I was hoping it would be more of a versus type episode, but the changes between them are so small that it really didn't warrant that. So if you had any thoughts on either version of Linux Mint or a different distro that you enjoy, be sure to leave it in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get a lot of value out of these videos, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if you did want to support my channel, you could also go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/geekoutdoors. I will have all that information in the description area below. Thanks for watching. See you in another episode. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.